Each year, the Madera County Transportation Commission asks for your input to improve local transit services. Watch this video to learn how you can share your feedback and help make transit better for all. Let's start by explaining why we do the Unmet Transit Needs process every year. MCTC is the administrator of the Transportation Development Act funds for Madera County. By law, in order to use those funds, we are required to identify the unmet transit needs of our county. The way the unmet transit needs are identified is through a citizen participation process where we receive comments from those who are transit dependent. At a minimum, we must hold at least one public hearing per year. You may have seen on our website that MCTC has a Social Services Transportation Advisory Council. Who are they? By law, we are also required to establish a Social Services Transportation Advisory Council to advise our MCTC Policy Board regarding the needs of transit-dependent persons. The SSTAC is made up of individuals from various social service providers in our county, transit providers, and some are also transit riders, so they are equipped to understand the issues that riders face when using our public transit system. The SSTAC has two main tasks. One, receive public input regarding transit service needs, and two, annually make a recommendation regarding those needs to the MCTC Policy Board. The SSTAC is a very important part of the unmet transit needs process. To receive comments, we go beyond just holding one public hearing per year. We try to make it easy for residents to submit comments using the way that is most convenient for them. We accept comments by phone, mail, email, social media, and through an online survey. We also host workshops throughout the county to give residents an opportunity to learn about the unmet transit needs process and to get assistance filling out comment forms. As mentioned before, we are required to ask for comments, particularly from those who are transit dependent. Perhaps they are unable to afford a vehicle, or maybe they are getting up in age, or have a disability that makes a person rely on transit as their means of transportation. These are the individuals we are looking to receive comments from. There are specific definitions for what is considered an unmet transit need and reasonable to meet. An unmet transit need is an expressed or identified need that is not currently being met through existing public transportation services. An unmet transit need also is a need required to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The MCTC Policy Board adopted this definition in 2022 by resolution. An expressed or identified need that is not currently being met through existing public transit services could cover a broad range of things. However, the SSTAC is looking for comments that identify locations in the county that do not have transit service at all, or it is unavailable at times when it is needed for essential life activities like work or school. The SSTAC also makes sure to pay attention to comments that reveal where accessibility could be improved for passengers with disabilities using the transit system. Some comments that we receive are of an operational nature, such as route connection issues or late buses. While these issues are not considered to be an unmet transit need, they provide valuable insight on the overall condition of the transit system in Madera County and will be noted by the transit agency to aid in making improvements and changes wherever possible. In order for an unmet transit need to be considered reasonable to meet, it needs to meet minimum criteria as defined by the MCTC Policy Board. So for feasibility, the SSTAC has to consider, does it make sense? Does it comply with the law? Is there sufficient ridership potential? For community acceptance, would the new proposed service have community support from the general public or community leaders? The SSTAC has to consider benefit to population. That means, will it benefit the general public, and particularly the transit-dependent population, such as older adults or persons with disabilities? Cost effectiveness of the new service would also be considered. It also has to be consistent with existing plans, such as, does the new proposed service align with goals included in major regional documents, such as the Regional Transportation Plan or the Short Range Transit Plan? The SSTAC will analyze all the comments to see if they meet the criteria to be determined reasonable to meet. After reviewing and analyzing all of the comments, the SSTAC will recommend to our MCTC Policy Board one of the following. There are no unmet transit needs, or there are no unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet, or there are unmet transit needs, including needs that are reasonable to meet. The SSTAC will make these recommendations for the City of Chowchilla, the City of Madera, and for Madera County separately. So let's take a look at the timeline for this year's Unmet Transit Needs process. So as we see on the timeline, once we kick off the Unmet Transit Needs process, we'll hold public workshops or attend community events to hear from people directly. We'll also have a public hearing during an MCTC Policy Board meeting where anyone can share their comments. After that, the SSTAC reviews all the comments and makes a recommendation to the Policy Board. The Policy Board then makes the final decision on which unmet transit needs are considered reasonable to meet. Then everything is documented in a report that goes to the state. From there, the transit agency works on finding solutions for the needs that were identified as reasonable to meet. As was mentioned earlier, there are many ways to participate in the unmet transit needs process. One of the easiest ways is to fill out our online survey. You can also give us a call or send a comment in the mail or email. If you would like to provide your comments in real time to our MCTC Policy Board, then you can attend the public hearing. Thank you for watching. If you would like more information on unmet transit needs, please take a look at our Unmet Transit Needs webpage. On that webpage, you can find links to the survey and past analysis and recommendations reports. MCTC staff contact information is there in the bottom right corner. Feel free to call or email with questions or to provide comments. Finally, don't forget to follow us on social media. It's a good way to keep up to date with what we're doing here at MCTC.